There are machines, and then there are legends. There are motorcycles that pass through time unnoticed, and then there are motorcycles that stop time altogether. The Norton Manx 30M is not just a motorcycle, it is a roar frozen in history, a silhouette etched into every racetrack that ever mattered, and a beating heart that refuses to quiet down. Listen carefully, because the Manx is not here to whisper its story. It is here to thunder it. And once you hear it, you will never forget it. Once you see it, you will never look at another motorcycle the same way again. That's the loop, that's the circle you keep coming back to. The Norton Manx is not a machine you own, it's a machine that owns you. Picture it. The lean frame, the long fuel tank stretched like a spear aimed at the horizon, the rider tucked low, the single-cylinder engine pounding like a war drum. The Manx was built for one reason: domination. In the 1940s and 1950s, when the Isle of Man TT was the crucible of speed, the Norton Manx 30M became the weapon of choice for riders who dared to chase glory. This was no commuter's ride, no gentleman's leisure bike. This was raw power distilled into metal. It carried no excess weight, no frills, no compromise. Every bolt, every weld, every inch of it was designed for one thing only: winning. And it won. Again and again, it won. Now let's talk power, because the Manx doesn't hide behind nostalgia alone, it proves itself in numbers. Beneath that slender frame sat a 499cc air-cooled, single-cylinder engine, tuned with precision by Norton's race department. Do not mistake that displacement for modesty. This was an engine that breathed through dual overhead cams, an engineering miracle for its time, delivering around 50 horsepower. In the mid-20th century, that was ferocity incarnate. That was enough to push the Manx beyond 130 miles per hour, on roads that weren't racetracks as you know them today, but narrow, dangerous, punishing paths carved through mountains and villages. And yet, the Manx devoured them with an appetite unmatched. But here is the hidden beauty. It wasn't only about straight-line speed. The Norton Manx 30M carried the featherbed frame. Yes, the legendary featherbed, introduced in 1950. And why was it called that? Because riders said it was so smooth, so stable, it felt like riding on a featherbed compared to the bucking, twisting frames of the era. It hugged the corners, it carved the roads, it made the impossible feel effortless. That is what separated the Manx from the pretenders. You see, any company can make an engine scream, but only Norton made the scream dance. And there were secrets, oh yes. Hidden features that whispered to the rider. That fuel tank wasn't just long for looks. It was designed so the rider could stretch out, tuck in, become one with the wind. The brakes, drum though they were, had been perfected to bite with ferocity without betraying the rider. The gearbox was slick, precise, as if it anticipated your command before you gave it. And that engine, that engine, hand-built, hand-polished, hand-tuned, with tolerances so exact they turned steel into symphony. These weren't production bikes rolling off an assembly line by the thousands. These were crafted. Each Manx carried with it the fingerprints of its makers, the spirit of its racers, the ambition of its age. Now, let's pause. Because you're asking yourself, what would it cost to own such a beast today? What price does one pay for immortality on two wheels? Back in its prime, the Norton Manx wasn't cheap. It was a serious investment, meant only for racers and those who lived on the edge of danger. But today, in the collector's market, a true Norton Manx 30M commands astonishing sums. We are talking $40,000, $50,000, sometimes even more. Depending on condition and provenance. Because this is not simply a motorcycle, it is a piece of motorsport history. It is art you can ride, history you can start with a kick, legend you can feel under your hands. Every dollar spent on it is not a purchase, it's a pledge to keep the story alive. And here's where I bring you back, looping to the beginning, circling like the Isle of Man TT itself. Because when you first hear the Manx, when you first see it, you realize it is not frozen in the past. No, the Manx is alive every time it fires up. That single-cylinder bark is sharper than memory, louder than nostalgia. It is not polite, it does not purr, it shouts. It tells you that you are not simply sitting on metal, you are riding on the shoulders of giants. Jeff Duke, John Surtees, and countless privateers who staked their lives on this machine, they all left a part of themselves in the Manx. And when you grip those bars, when you drop that clutch, you pick it up where they left off. What makes the Norton Manx truly immortal is that it represents the purity of racing stripped to its bare essence. No electronics, no traction control, no computers mediating between you and the road. Just man, machine, and destiny. Every vibration through the bars, every twitch of the throttle, every scream of the exhaust, this is communication at its most primal. This is what motorcycling was meant to be before the world became too safe, too sterile, too calculated. The Manx laughs at safety nets. It doesn't care about your comfort. It only asks one question: do you dare? And here lies its hidden feature, the one no spec sheet will ever show: courage. The Manx 30M does not just reveal itself to the rider, it reveals the rider to himself. It shows you whether you can stand the pressure, whether you can hold your line when the corner tightens, whether you can keep your throttle pinned when fear tells you to back off. That is the Manx's gift. That is its curse, and that is why it is revered. So, as we stand here, let me leave you with this: the Norton Manx 30M is not a relic. It is not a museum piece to be admired behind velvet ropes. It is alive, burning, demanding. It is one of those rare creations where engineering and soul fused into one. And that's why it will never die.